Welcome back to the Noble Broker. I'm your host, Jonathan Lickstein. On the Noble Broker, we speak with professionals and producers in the real estate industry, getting behind the curtain, opening those closed doors, and getting to know that professional or that producer or a combination thereof behind closed doors. What are they really like? What are their interests? And how are they growing as a human being? And how are they interacting with others as people? Because that's what we are. Today, I have a professional and a producer, I'm going to call him, Mr. Mayor Rex Hardin, the mayor of the city of Pompano Beach. Welcome, Rex.
Thank you, Jonathan. Glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you. So going back, let's first talk about your origin and how you got into politics. As the city of Pompano's mayor now, you deal with people all day, every day. And I'm sure you didn't grow up saying, I want to be the next mayor of Pompano. So what got you into politics? How did you start and why?
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, politics was not something I aspired to, although my dad, he was involved in politics, but that actually gave me a bad taste in my mouth when I was a little kid, because, going out to, parking lots and putting flyers on people's windshields, that wasn't fun as a kid. But as I grew up and I, got involved in the community and I'm a business person, I joined the Rotary Club and so on and so forth, and people start to talk with you and they have questions about what's going on. So I started interacting with the city commissioner at that time for my area in Pompano Beach, and she had been there for a long time and was an experienced politician, and everybody looked up to that person. And I called her and asked her some questions about a project that was going on in the city of Pompano Beach, because people had a bunch of rumors that there was going to be, oh no, some low-income housing going in right next to our homes. And so I said, well, look, let's just call the city commissioner. So I called the city commissioner, and her response was that, well, yeah, I heard that too. And right then a light went off in my head, and I said, wait a minute, that's not an acceptable answer from an elected official. So that's really what kind of started everything right then. But also at that point in time, the city of Pompano Beach was kind of run down, and it was beaten up, because I've been here since 1963, and I remember when the beach area, we had t-shirt shops and all kinds of touristy stuff down there. But back in 1998, when I first got started in politics, Pompano Beach was in a bad place. There were a lot of boarded up storefronts, and the beach area was just desolate. Nobody went there anymore because there was nothing to do, and it wasn't really the kind of place that I wanted to call my home. So I decided to run for office, and here we are, all these years later, and it's worked.
It's funny hearing that. There's something that triggered you, right? It was that experience with the city commissioner at the time, who was more not so dismissive, but was more non-knowing of what was going on in the circumstances than you as a kid was.
Yeah.
And you walked in and said, oof, light bulb going off. The people in these positions should be with the mindset of helping the people and knowing what's going on in their local community.
Right.
And I have found that is a big difference, getting to know you. It's a big difference between career politicians and elected officials who are there for that reason. And that's something that you've really put off. So you have put off to others. You've put out to others is probably a better way to say that. So you started as a city commissioner. That was the start of Rex's political campaign or political career.
Yes.
In 2007 as a city commissioner yourself. So tell me about that experience. How did you interact differently than what had gotten you there in the first place?
Oh gosh, well, once you get into office, I mean, of course, when everybody thinks about, well, okay, you're an elected official, you can pretty much do anything, right? No, that's not the case.
That's not the case?
Believe it or not.
You have to cancel my aspirations then.
I know. People think once you get elected to office, you're like king, but no, that's not really the way our government works, and it shouldn't work that way. It takes time to get things done. It takes planning. It takes an idea, and then it takes, consensus around that idea, and then it takes planning to figure out how is that idea going to be moved forward into some real life expectation, and then of course it takes dollars. We have to plan the dollars to get the whatever it is done, and all of that, it just takes forever in government, which as it should be, because it's taxpayer dollars we're dealing with, and that's treasure, so we have to be very careful. But yeah, when you're first elected, you think, okay, well, I'm gonna change the world, by golly. And once you get elected, you realize pretty quickly, well, no, I'm not going to change the world that fast. And you really have to kind of take a deep swallow and just realize, okay, well, everything I said that I was going to do in my first term, I don't know what I'm going to tell the people because I can't get it done. There's just no way. So it really is. It's a tremendous learning experience when you first get elected to office. And what it is to actually be an elected official, and that you can't just do things. It's like I said, you're not king. At least in the city of Pompano Beach, we've got a strong city manager form of government. So the city manager is who really runs our city. Now, me as the mayor, I'm head of policy and I run the meetings and things, and head of the government, so to speak. But the city manager is still the person who actually implements everything that happens in the city. So, I've got a great idea, but I still have to get the consensus of my commission behind me, and then I have to cooperate with my city manager to get things done.
Has your perspective changed? You just mentioned you need your city commissioners, right? So you coming in as a city commissioner, has your perspective or your impression of the process changed from when you were a city commissioner rising through to now being the mayor of Pompano Beach and seeing it on the other side? How has your perspective changed from one role to the other?
Well, yes. Being mayor, you have a greater impact on what does happen in the city. I still only have one vote because the Pompano Beach City Commission is made up of six individuals. I am one of those six. But as the mayor, I do have a little stronger influence in what happens in the city because, of course, people defer to me because I am elected by the entire city. I'm not elected by an individual district, so I do represent the entire city. So yes, it has changed my perspective being the mayor as opposed to being a city commissioner. In one way in particular, when you're a city commissioner, you represent that district. Okay, you're elected from that district. But so there is a certain amount of parochialism that takes place there, where okay, I'm here working for my district. When I was a city commissioner, though, I still remembered that I am a city commissioner. I'm not just a district commissioner, I'm a city commissioner. So I always try to look at things from a larger perspective, even when I was just a commissioner. But when you're a mayor, I have to really consider everybody's input and the impact what we do as a city commission has on all areas of the city. It's not like I can just say, well, okay, I know that the beach area, yeah, we want to make the beach area beautiful. Forget every place else. No, that's not the way it works because I represent the entire city. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's eye-opening to have to take that step up, so to speak, to be the mayor now.
And having been there for the last now 2007, that's 15 years. Mm-hmm. After having been involved for the last 15 years, you've seen quite an evolution in the city of Pompano here. I mean, that's where we're sitting right now. And driving down the street, you had mentioned back in the 60s when you first came in, this Pompano is not the same Pompano. It's very different.
Yeah.
So what is your proudest project that you've worked on as part of the city commission or the mayor that has helped Pompano become more of what it is today?
Well, the current renaissance in Pompano Beach, really, that's what I'm most proudest of. And that really has taken place in the most recent time. Not just since I've been mayor, but prior to being mayor, that's when we really started to see a lot of things happening in Pompano Beach. But it took a lot of work in the early years to really kind of get that vision shaped and get it starting down the right path. And now we're starting to really see the fruits of our labor. And yeah, I mean, you look at the beach area, and that's something to be proud of. I am very proud of it because now, instead of people talking about Pompano Beach that, well, we thought about moving there, but we moved to Fort Lauderdale. Instead of that, now I've got people from outside of Pompano Beach, from across the county. Now they talk to me when they see me at other places throughout the county about, wow, I go to Pompano Beach now. I used to go here or to Delray or whatever, but no, I'm extremely proud of what we have accomplished thus far.
Yeah. And Pompano has made a place for itself on the map. There's no debate on that one.
Yeah.
Instead of saying Fort Lauderdale and Pompano was a less costly alternative, there are now people who contact our office for Pompano directly.
Yeah.
They're looking for Pompano because they've heard positive things. And so much of that is due to the CRA and everything you guys have done up and down this Atlantic Boulevard corridor.
Yeah.
And it started, as you said, it takes a long time. It started way back when. So when did the planning for CRA, the CRA and the redevelopment of all the store frontage, the beach area. When did that all start? So we can get an idea of timeline from idea and planning to having a true impact like it has today.
Gosh, I mean, honestly, it started back in the, in like 1998,
wow,
2000 is when because we had plans on the drawing board to do, good things in Pompano Beach back then, but there was a local paper, it used to be called the Ledger, and they used to make fun of us. It's local to Pompano. This paper is local to, or it was local to Pompano. And they used to make fun of us because it's like, well, here's another failed promise for the remake of Pompano Beach.
Well, thinking that things happen overnight.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Right. That's it. Exactly. That's it. And you know why they can't do it? Okay. The politicians, they failed again, and this went on for years. So, but that gives you an idea of the length of time it takes. But I mean, but it also takes the political will. I mean, the plans have been there for some time, but it takes political will to actually push those plans forward. And it takes some political hits along the way too. And you've got to be strong to be able to withstand some of those hits, because change is difficult. People don't like change. It's natural. None of us like change. I don't care if it's the change of your community, it's change of the color of your house at home. People don't like change. They resist it because it's not familiar. So yeah, until we can implement things and people can see, that process is very difficult. And people oftentimes will say, well, no, we don't want that. But if you need to build that consensus with enough people so that you can have enough critical mass so that you can withstand some of those hits along the way, because they're going to come. Yeah. And the people, and I can tell you, like the beach area, when we were doing the beach area, doing the planning, the final planning stages for there, it was a lot of angst because the parking on the street, and because people live there too. Right. I mean, the beach area, it is a residential area, really, when you think about it. And there was a lot of give and take. But yeah, had we listened to or had not listened, because we do, as an elected official, you do listen. I mean, believe it or not, people don't think so, but we really do listen. But had we acted on every single opposition that we encountered along the way, we never would have gotten that done. Never. It would not have happened. And that's what really took place in the early years in Pompano Beach, when we first had these plans. Okay, the political will wasn't there. People just, no, it's like, okay, well, you've got 20 people show up at a city commission meeting and say they don't want this to happen, so okay, well, we won't do it. In a situation like that, you get nowhere, and that's what happened in Pompano for many, many years, and it's unfortunate because we missed a lot of opportunity that way. But we also had an opportunity, because we missed some of that, we had an opportunity to watch what other communities had done around us, so we didn't make some of those same mistakes. I mean, and so what Pompano's been doing, I think it's top notch. We've got excellent facilities. We have learned that we need to step things up, make it more iconic. It's kind of like our beach parking garage. I mean, you could have just built a plain garage, but no, we wanted something different for Pompano Beach. So we've got sails on it, it lights up at night, all this kind of stuff, so people can be proud of where they live and proud of what we are doing. So once we get through the hard times, and honest to gosh, this happens, once we get through the hard times, people then walk up to you and say, yeah, I know I complained a lot, but what you guys did on the beach, it was great.
Sometimes it's hard to see the final result and where it could go, or the optics on how positive this could be for the community, when an individual resident is thinking, okay, well, parking's going to get busier or traffic's going to get worse. Yeah. But there's so many positives that come along with that, and seeing that at the end and reflecting back on how they were, that probably brings you a lot of pride, a lot of gratification. Yeah. To see something from the beginning, even before you got involved, you were able to get involved and help push those initiatives along and get on some of that political will, right? Yeah. And that's a big difference between you and some other politicians. I said this before, career politicians do what they need to do to keep getting reelected. Yeah. Someone who's there, a man of the people like yourself, who listens to their community, can see that, okay, this is what you're telling me, but really this is in your best interest. It is. I'm a resident here too, and this is good for all of us. And seeing that through and getting that feedback at the end of it from someone who complained along the way especially, probably brings you a lot of gratification, a lot of gratitude from them, and just seeing the city evolve changes your home.
Yeah.
Right? You live here. You work here.
This is home. This is it. I mean, I grew up here. I spend my time here. I pay taxes here. My kids go to school here. This is home, and that's the only reason I do what I do. I ran for the job, and I'm really very happy that I am mayor. But trust me, there's always a side of every politician who gets anything done who looks at it and says, "Boy, do I really want to do this?" Because it's those hits, they hurt. People don't realize it. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's politics." Yeah, but I'll tell you what, when my wife reads the comments and all this kind of stuff, it's tough, man.
Is your wife your biggest supporter?
Of course, yeah. That's my wife and my kids. Yeah, I think my kids probably they're right up there too. I think they're pretty proud of what the old man's done.
Oh, they have to be.
Yeah.
They have to be. You've done some great things. Speaking of family, having a family support you, number one, would not allow you to do. Having a non-supportive family would not allow you to do what you do right now.
Absolutely.
So thank you to them.
Yeah.
And their sacrifices, because they're sacrificing as well. But taking that family and how much of a family man you are and how much you care about your city, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time in between there. How do you balance your love for your family and their need for your time, the city and their need for your time and your love for the city, with having to make money somewhere along the way?
Yeah.
How do you balance all of that? How do you find the time?
Oh man, you don't. To be honest with you, you don't. There aren't enough hours in the day, so you have to pick and choose, and yeah, things get left along the side. I have to admit, doing what I do, especially in politics, because politics, it's not like a 9 to 5. It's I got a couple hours here, a couple hours there, a couple hours here, but it occupies just so much of your day that yeah, things get missed. Things get missed at home, and that's it. I mean, my family really is. They're so supportive, but they also understand why I'm doing it, and but it's a big trade-off because I try to do as much as I can, and I've tried to do as much as I can with my kids as they're growing up. But yeah, I've missed family time with my wife, my kids. It's tough. As far as dollars go, yeah, you still have to make a living. I mean, it's being a city commissioner or mayor, that doesn't pay the bills, so you have to go out there and actually still have a business or work a job, and it's so yeah. I've been in the printing business. Also, of course, I'm in the real estate business now. Still trying to make a few bucks, but I need the flexibility in whatever I do because I can't just go work a 9 to 5 job and be the mayor of the city of Pompano Beach. It's like one or the other.
I think I would feel a certain type of way if I got a job application for you, looking to work a 9 to 5 job as the mayor of Pompano Beach.
Yeah.
I'd get a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility, that the home support, the desire and the drive to push the city of Pompano and continue to evolve, because you're not done yet.
No.
You're not done in the city of Pompano.
No. This is. I mean, honestly, it's getting into the fun time of being the mayor of Pompano Beach right now because we have so many neat things happening right now and on the horizon. We're just on the cusp of great things happening in the city of Pompano Beach. I mean, you look at what we've done so far, but man, Pompano Beach has got a long way to go, and it's exciting. It's exciting what is going on. So
right. You just alluded to something. And I'm going to ask you, so what can you tell us is ahead for the city of Pompano? What are you most excited about that you can tell us?
Most excited, I mean, it's off the beach area, sorry, but because the beach area is great, it really is. But the most excited thing I'm excited about for the city of Pompano Beach is our northwest section. And that's the area that we are looking at to create our new downtown in. And that's the area between Atlantic Boulevard up to Martin Luther King, and all the way from Dixie Highway to I-95. The city and our CRA, that's Community Redevelopment Agency, we own a tremendous amount of property in that rectangular area. And we are now looking for a partner, developer partner, to come in and partner with us and redo that entire area, basically. And not displace, because there's businesses there right now, not displace businesses, but to incorporate businesses and create new businesses and create a new downtown. And we're talking hotels, convention center, residential component, entertainment areas. We're talking, I mean, yeah, from soup to nuts. We're thinking about perhaps moving our city hall from where it currently is into that downtown area as part of this process. So, and this is, I mean, this isn't a 2-year process. This,
Oh, no.
This, I mean, this is the kind of thing that takes, 20 years or more to actually accomplish long term. But you've got to start somewhere, and what that's going to do is that is going to just inject a tremendous amount of money and capital into that area, which the spillover effects into the entire northwest Pompano Beach area is really, that's always been my dream, is northwest Pompano, because anybody who knows Pompano knows our northwest area it's underdeveloped, it's impoverished, it's
been left on its own.
Yes, it has. I mean, we've poured a bunch of money in there, and we continue to pour a bunch of money in there to do various projects. But it's just such a large area, and it's been historically the less improved area of the city, and it needs so much. But this is really going to change that area.
Oh, I completely agree. When you get off 95,
Yeah.
you're heading east, and you kind of don't know where you are, that you're really in Pompano until
Yeah.
you cross Dixie.
Right.
And then you get into all the areas that have started being redeveloped, right?
Yeah.
They've been improved. The fascia of the shopping centers give you a more welcoming feel. You get all the way down to the beach, and you've already kind of set your expectation as you're going down there. So that first section is definitely where you can make an impact. I love to hear that.
Yeah, so that's hugely exciting. I mean, we got other things going on in Pompano Beach. I mean, that's out around the casino. That's going to be private development out there. But yeah, seriously, the most exciting thing in my book is that downtown area, because that's going to be such a transformational change for the city and the people that reside here. And it's just,
And that's something you've seen since the 60s when you first got here.
yeah.
So I don't think we've ever spoken about this, but I've been coming to Pompano Beach since I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I grew up in Northern Virginia, nowhere close. Why would we come down to Pompano Beach? And my grandparents had a place down here in Palm Air. So every winter break, we would drive down, horrendous drive, from Northern Virginia down to Florida. You see me in the back seat, cramped up in the back. We had three kids, right? The youngest of three.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the back of the third row, forgotten. They never left me in the car and locked me in. But so coming down here, I've been coming to Pompano Beach that long, and being a Jewish family, we don't do Christmas dinner, right? Especially growing up. So my Christmas dinner was the Peking Chinese place, literally 3 doors away right
Yeah.
now. That's still there, and that hasn't changed. Pompano is still Pompano.
Yeah.
It's just a different feel when you get here.
Yeah.
It really is. So your plans for the future, and I want to tie this back in with this redevelopment and how excited you are for this. That will improve things not only for that local area, the city in its entirety, but we're going to bring this back into real estate. Property values will go up.
Oh, huge, huge.
That is an automatic. Whenever you're redeveloping, you're adding more employment, you're adding more jobs, more business, more commerce, more tourism through the convention center and the hotel you mentioned, the shopping center, even the private development is going to assist with all of that. But with property values going up, they already have. I mean, you talk about 10, 15 years ago in Pompano, it's not what it is today.
Yeah.
You know, and it has stretched out from Fort Lauderdale coming north to what you guys have done here to make it a more welcoming place to live. But are you ever concerned that this development will price things out of where people are now?
Well, there's that is a huge fear for everyone. Of course it is, and it will happen. That there will be a time where, okay, somebody can't afford to buy something. But the way I look at it, for the area that we're talking about, the northwest section of Pompano, that area, what vehicle historically has created long-term wealth?
Real estate, for sure.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly. But not just real estate. What has to happen to create that long-term wealth with real estate?
Home ownership, not renting.
Correct. And escalating prices.
Very true.
Okay? When my mom and dad finally passed away, and my sister and I, we sold their house, we had a financial windfall. Okay? That's creating generational wealth. But it only happens because property values go up. If property values in an area don't go up, you don't have that wealth building accumulation taking place. So it's much more difficult to break poverty in an area if you don't have rising property values. So the plan is that we will have rising property values, but in Florida, of course, everybody who who is living in their own home is protected by homestead. Even though your property values go up, your taxes aren't going up, okay? Which, of course, that creates some problems in and of itself, because you've got one person paying $5,000 a year in taxes versus somebody paying $200 a year, but that's a different story. But the increase in property values in the northwest section is going to create generational wealth building, which that's huge. That changes people's lives long term. Yes, pricing people out of an area is a problem, and that's a problem that the city of Pompano Beach, myself,
well, I don't necessarily mean pricing them out of an area. I maybe phrased that incorrectly. The angle that you just explained to me, I wasn't even thinking about. I wasn't.
That's what government people do.
And
sometimes.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So by increasing the property value for the people that are, yes, the general city of Pompano, but even more so the Northwest Corridor.
Yeah.
You're helping those people even more.
Yeah.
Their property value goes up when they turn around and go to sell, or God forbid their ultimate demise, and it goes to their heirs. You've created more wealth for that individual family and that individual person because their house can sell for more.
Yes.
That house is worth more when it's passed down.
Yes.
And it's creating more of a long-term impact where you didn't even think that you were going.
I mean, that's it. I mean, it all kind of goes together to try and help people, and that's really it. And I know it's scary to some people, thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to afford to live there anymore. No, you will be able to. If that's your house, of course, we want you to live there. You're the fabric of this community. Mm-hmm. We don't want people forced out of their homes, and they won't be. But when the time comes, which, I mean, I'm in real estate. I talk to people all the time. You're not ready to sell now, I know, but at some point in time, you may decide that it's time to look at buying or selling something else. And when those folks decide it's time to buy or sell, for whatever reason, they will have a much larger amount of cash that they can then pass on or use just to better their lives. And that's really what it's about. It's creating better conditions for people to live. And that's why we do this. We don't just do it to have pretty buildings. And so the spillover effects they're tremendous for that area.
So much more valuable than
yes.
the initial.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it will create generational wealth and accumulation out there. And if people really want to invest in an area, that's a good area to invest in. I mean, because there's going to be a lot of investment in that area.
Taking notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Setting my MLS search.
Yeah.
So with the evolution of Pompano, this is probably the last point on the evolution, and
sure.
then we'll digress into something else. But with Pompano going from being this coastal town, I'm going to call it a town previously, mm-hmm. And evolving into more of a city destination. This changes things for the residents. This establishes that generational wealth capability that may not have been there for 30, 40, 50, 60 years before, but they do have it now. So how will that impact other outside businesses or other outside influences or investments or somebody coming to you after the fact? What kind of doors does that open for the community?
Well, I mean, what's going on in Pompano Beach? It's creating. People are looking at this area like never before.
So, we already have a Whole Foods.
Yeah, so. That's it. We're looking to attract major corporate headquarters. We're looking, and we're not just this little seaside town any longer. We are we are part of a major metropolitan area, but we are becoming a shining star on our own. So Fort Lauderdale, they've got their vision. They've got their core downtown area, which we never want that in Pompano. Pompano is a different kind of place. Pompano is more of a town feeling. It's more, but some people, they want that. They don't want the hustle and bustle of a Fort Lauderdale, or even worse, the hustle and bustle of a Miami. And yes, so we've got major corporations which are coming to Pompano and looking to relocate in this area, which that creates the jobs that then pay the wages, so that then they can afford to purchase the homes. It all dovetails together, and it takes investment in the community to make that happen, and that's what we have been doing in the city of Pompano Beach, and that's investing in our community to make it more of a vibrant, more of an attractive area for outsiders. We want to make it great for ourselves, our residents, our current residents, but without the growth coming in, we're not going to have that outside influence to really feed what we all want for our own hometown. It's just, I mean, there's so many different angles. I mean, it's, educational aspects. We've been looking at creating our own charter school here in Pompano Beach to try and give another educational option for those who might look at the Broward County school systems and say, well, wait a minute, the schools aren't so great in that area. So we're looking at a lot of different things to position Pompano Beach to really be a star. And that's where I think we are.
Okay. So we had to go through this little thing, worldwide pandemic, aka COVID,
Yeah.
right? And working with consumers, buyers and sellers, you've seen a lot of a transition from the major concentrated high density cities into more communities like Pompano Beach, like Deerfield Beach, like heading out west, going further north, et cetera, in our local area. And that has changed things drastically for not only the residents that were here, but the residents that have now moved here have kind of not necessarily changed the community for good or bad, but they've expanded the community, right? So how have you seen things change due to COVID? And is there anything that you're doing differently now than before?
Well, I mean, we're being more careful as far as, washing our hands and everything like that. But yeah, it really has. It's changed a lot in the city of Pompano Beach because, as you pointed out, people have moved from the more high dense areas, and they've realized that they don't need to live in those high dense areas and to do what they do. A lot of remote working and stuff like that, it still goes on. And honestly, people just wanted to get out of the closed in areas because in Florida, in Pompano Beach, I mean, even when we were locked down, you were able to go out in your backyard, you were able to, do things. But if you're in an apartment in New York City or something like that, I mean, you were just trapped. So, of course, that brought a lot of people down here. But one of the good things is that, yeah, I mean, from a real estate aspect, of course, it drove prices up. Which that's good. I mean, that's good for everybody, really, if you think about it, because the people that own the property, their property is now worth more money. It's good for real estate because now you can sell it for more. But yeah, it has changed the entire landscape down here, and it will continue to. As far as how we've changed things, as far as COVID, I mean, we've implemented. Nobody heard of Zoom before. Now I'm on Zooms like every day, Zoom meetings. I mean, it's just it has changed the way we do business. It's a different world now, and it really is.
So those city commission meetings that previously you would go, you'd have to sit in person, et cetera. They were pretty closed unless a resident went and physically attended the meeting. Mm-hmm. Is that changed now? Are things more accessible?
Well, we had already taken the step as far as the city commission meetings to allow the public to view our city commission meetings if they don't want to. Now they can't participate remotely, but they can view it. But we did, of course, during the height of the pandemic, we actually did hold Zoom city commission meetings. But the state law is such that you have to be careful about that because you have to have a quorum and things of this nature. So it's difficult to continue that without the true emergency nature that we had. But yeah, the residents and others who want to watch our meetings, they've always been able to for many, many years. In fact, that was something I started years ago, is the city going on the internet. I was actually the city commissioner that first proposed that back in the day. So yeah, we've always been very accessible as far as viewing the city commission meetings for folks who don't want to come to the meeting because, yeah, honestly, it's, people don't have time to come to a city commission meeting and spend the time to go there, but they still want to know what's going on. They want to watch the meeting later on or on their computer and things like that. So we do that. It's just trying to communicate with the public, and that's really what it's all about. Let people know
transparency.
Yes, transparency. Which, yeah.
So nothing in real estate. Well, let me go back. Everything in real estate, and I'm sure politics, this kind of correlates, can be controversial. And you can be walking a fine line with everything that you are doing, whether it's an initiative that's absolutely 100% for the people, or if it's establishing more regulations to restrict what people are doing. There's always controversy, right?
Yes.
A real estate transaction, listing agent, buying agent, if they catch each other in a dark alley, yeah, it might be harmonious, but it could be pretty controversial at the same time. So with that kind of going the same way, they're both going along the same. When you are running for office, you may or may not have a relationship with the person on the other side. And this goes back from city commission all the way up to date. Mm-hmm. You may or may not have a relationship. That relationship may or may not be positive. It might be negative. Who knows? So everyone that's running for these offices are typically members of the community, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're going through that and you're almost adversarial with the other person in the campaign, how do you get past that and then go forward and work alongside or work for that person, really? 'Cause as the mayor, you're working for them as a resident of the community.
Sure.
So how do you get past that? And the correlation I'm trying to make here is when you are at ends in a real estate transaction, buyer versus seller, agent versus agent, broker versus broker, whatever it might be, agent versus attorney, client versus attorney, everybody versus attorney. How do you get past that and then look for the bigger picture of, yeah, you weren't what you were against me, but now we can do this together for a better purpose?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I don't know how other people do it, but I've always had a knack for remembering that it's not personal. And at the final analysis is we, whether it's politics or real estate, or we are here to represent other people. I'm elected to be a representative of the people. I represent the people, okay? I don't represent Rex Hardin. Now, I am one of the people, so I do represent myself, but by and large, I am here to be a representative of the people. That's who I'm serving. So I don't care if I've got to sit across the table and work with City Commissioner Attila the Hun. If I can make things better for the people I represent, I can deal with that person. And if that person said mean, nasty things about me, that's okay. I've got big shoulders. I can take it. Like I said, my wife doesn't like it, but I can deal with it. But I always kind of just get back to focusing on what it is I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to accomplish something for those that I represent. And for that reason, it's like, well, no, I suck it up. And it's like, okay, I understand. We had differing views on this, but this is a new day. This is a different topic. Let's try and make some headway on this. And you know, you just can't take it personal. I know it's hard because it is personal. It's your life. I mean, as I spoke earlier about it, it's like, yeah, people say some pretty mean, evil, nasty things sometimes, but you just have to realize, well, we've all got emotions. We've all got things that perhaps we didn't want to say or didn't wish we hadn't said, but at the end of the day, to get anything done, you have to get beyond that. And you have to just focus on, okay, what am I here for? I'm not here for Rex Hardin. I'm here for the city of Pompano Beach and what I can do, what I can deliver for the residents and visitors and businesses in the city. So for that reason, I can deal with anybody. And luckily, I mean, there's folks I don't necessarily care for, but I can still deal with them. I mean,
put it aside for the bigger picture.
That's it, you know, and I mean, people still call me names sometimes, and I still deal with them respectfully, and that's the way it should be. I'm a representative of the people, and I will treat everyone with equal respect.
I feel like that gets lost sometimes on the political landscape.
Yes.
You were elected by the people. You're here for the people. When you were running, you've been backed by the local realtor associations during your campaign, and that is because of your mentality for the people, the homeowners, the evolution and the development of the community around, and for the greater good of the community itself. So, being that people person, you keep yourself pretty available for the people that brought you on board. So give me a story. Give me how you've gone above and beyond for, you don't have to name names. Go how you've gone above and beyond for a member of the community. As I know you've rolled your sleeves up and gotten your hands dirty. I know you've gotten involved and helped, and in a positive way, of course. But how have you helped one member of the community where we would probably, as the public, not think that a mayor, an elected official, would be willing to do so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got a tried and true story that I use. It's from years ago, but a nice little old lady. She called me because she didn't know who else to call, and I'm the elected official. She called me because she wasn't getting her mail delivered. And I mean, I've got nothing to do with the post office. The post office, that's like almost the federal government, but it certainly is way above the local city government. But she wasn't getting her mail delivered, and she was just beside herself because she didn't know what to do, and she certainly didn't know anybody at the post office. But she figured I probably could do something, even though I really couldn't. But she called, and I looked into it, and I did. I called the post office and said, "Hey, I've got this resident. She's got a problem." And I mean, this is far outside my boundaries. I've I've got no power. I've got no impact. I mean, it's like, you know, that's even outside the city government. I mean, I could go to my city manager and say, well, okay, look into this, but he's going to say, well, we got nothing to do with this, with the post office. But I called the post office personally, and I found out that, okay, and it turns out, yeah, there was a neighbor had a bad dog. And I explained to the post office, well, this lady, she's not getting her mail. It's not her dog. So how can we solve this? And they did. They worked it out so they would go into her house through a side gate. And yeah, she was very appreciative. But I mean, that's got nothing to do with city government. And yet, I mean, that's just. But that's what I do. I mean, that's what local politics is all about. It's the closest to the people. It's the closest government to the people. And if you're doing your job as a local elected official, people are going to know who to call, and they're going to call you because you've done your job to make yourself available to them. And so then it's up to you to actually deliver and help people. And that's you know, that's.
I'm sure the person at the post office who received that phone call was, oh wow, the mayor is calling me for this lady. Okay, well let's get to the bottom of this.
Could be. I mean, I don't like to, you know, puff myself up like that, but it could have a little more impact.
Your name carries a little bit of clout here, a little bit.
Thank you.
So, before your political career began, and which is it's giving back. I don't want to call it a career. It is a career, but I don't want to call it a career. Yeah. Your political time, before that, you've been in the commercial printing industry. That has changed and evolved quite a bit. As you have, you're now an elected official, and you've transitioned, not fully transitioned, but you have started undertaking the real estate side of things and seeing what we see as realtors and brokers with transactions day in and day out, not seeing it from the outside. How would you compare the professionalism that you have seen in real estate compared to the political landscape? Well, I'll take the elephant in the room real quick.
Okay.
So there's good and bad people in any industry.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
And we all hold ourselves to a certain standard. You can choose to be professional, or you can choose to not.
Yes.
And it depends on where your focus is. So how would you compare, I guess, the vast majority? Would you feel that the majority of politicians that you interact with have their heart in the right place?
I think they do. Yes, yes. I would say that yes. Politicians generally, I mean, they're there for the right reason. There are exceptions, of course, and that's what people point to. They point to the exceptions, and it's the same in any industry. It's the same in real estate, and I wouldn't want to point to the exceptions as the rule.
Right.
But of course, as in politics, there are exceptions in real estate too. And in my short time in real estate, I've certainly learned that yeah, there are you know, agents that just
bad apples.
Yeah, I mean I mean, you think they've got a client who wants to sell a piece of property. So if I've got a client who is looking to buy that piece of property, you think they would at least call me back when I leave a message to arrange a showing. But it's like it just doesn't happen. I've been flabbergasted, to be honest with you, by the real estate industry in that regard. I mean, that's because I really didn't know much about the industry until I got into it, and it's like, you know, I just figured, well, okay, everybody does the right thing. Come on,
and you're trying to do what you do in your political life.
Yeah.
I want to help this person. You want to help that person. Yeah. We can help them together.
Yeah.
And we could do something great, right? So crossing over into real estate, you've taken some of these values that you've grown with, you learned as a child, you've applied into all aspects of your life of doing the right thing, representing the consumer, representing the member of the public on the political side, and overall just going over that common goal and bringing everything back for that purpose. So when we're talking about a real estate transaction, it can be very adversarial, and this is how I'm tying back into the politics side, the political side. So in a campaign, it's very adversarial. I mean, we see this on TV as members of the public. Yeah. Advertisements paid by the competitor shaming that individual candidate, which can be a lot like real estate, and why we have the code of ethics that we have. You know, speaking honestly and fairly about everyone, not spreading rumors about other people and their practices, etc. And when you encounter these people, trying to overcome those bad apples, right? Overcoming that, and it gives you a certain type of feeling when you can't get that done, when you have to tell your consumer, like, I want to help you, but I can't because of them.
Yeah.
And trying to overcome that and circumvent that problem to actually get into solving your consumer's problem. They're answering the question of their need, which is a place to live, right? So continuing down that path, we have issues in our industry that are unsurmountable by an individual professional, by an individual consumer, and some things have to change, right? So as that evolves and Pompano continues to evolve and your role continues to evolve, which I hope you'll stay in.
Yes, I plan to.
Okay. Well, I will support you again.
Okay.
Seeing that continue down that pathway and being able to answer that question, does that give you a newfound respect for those professionals within real estate? Or what is a piece of advice that you could give other professionals within the real estate industry so they can have that right mindset and kind of get over that hump and find their why and find their purpose as you have?
Well, just overlook the issues. I mean, when you encounter a situation which is an unpleasant situation, okay, get through it as quickly as possible, number one, but don't cut any corners. But I mean, just move beyond it. Remember, kind of like politics, kind of like the way I look at serving the residents. In real estate, we're here to serve our client. Now look, your client may have this idea of, okay, I'm looking for this, but when you pick up the phone, you try and call somebody and you don't get a call back to get a showing, well, there's a lot of other properties out there. I mean, that's a great situation to be in. So not to just overlook that particular property, but remember there's an awful lot of other fish in the sea, so to speak, that you can solve your client's issue with. And just move beyond it, and just remember that you are part of the industry, and stick with that. Stay with that. Always try and do better than somebody else, because that's the only way that we can actually make politics or real estate or anything else better overall. Is just keep striving to do the best we possibly can, and don't worry about those other folks that don't do the right thing, that don't measure up to what your benchmark is for the way a real estate agent ought to operate or a politician ought to operate. Don't worry about those folks. Usually they won't last. They won't make it long term. They will be exposed one way or another, whether it's through the code of ethics or to the voters who vote them out of office. There's checks and balances in everything, and just don't get tied up in it. It's move beyond it. Come on, remember what you're there for. You're there to solve somebody's problem, and there's always multiple ways to solve the same problem. So don't worry if you encounter a bad situation. Just shift. Okay, make it a good situation with some other real estate agent, some other piece of property. I mean, sometimes if you have to, though, it's like, well, there are rules that cover these kind of things, and sometimes you do. You have to. I mean, in politics too. I mean, there are a lot of similarities between politics and real estate as far as the rules and regulations that we all have to follow. Because as a real estate agent, yeah, of course, we got the code of ethics, we got DPR and all this kind of stuff. Well, politics, we got mounds of rules also. And if it's bad enough, then yeah, sometimes you really do just have to call in the rule folks, and just hurry things along, so hopefully that person will be out of the business sooner rather than later. And same thing with politics. Sometimes
they work themselves out.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, there's an awful lot of ways to solve the same problem. Whether it's a client who's looking for a home to live in, or it's an issue you're dealing with at the city. There's an awful lot of ways to solve that problem. And if you encounter somebody who won't return your phone call, who won't deal with you on an honest basis to solve that political situation, then just shift aside. I mean, there's another way to do it, and it's just keep trying. Don't give up. Don't get upset. It's not personal. That's you got to remember, it's not personal. The person who is not doing the right thing, they're not trying to insult you. They're making themselves look bad, but they're not trying to insult you. It's unfortunate that sometimes there are folks like that in every industry.
So, the reason that you got into the political landscape, if you see something that can be done better, get yourself involved.
Oh yeah.
And be the change.
Yeah.
But never lose sight of why you're there. That's noble. Thanks, Rex.